Hey BookTube, here's a discussion about paying attention when we listen to audiobooks. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how I pay attention when I listen. A lot of people who talk to me about listening to audiobooks will say, I can't do it because I can't pay attention. And I think that's a valid thing. Not everybody can pay attention. Paying attention is something your brain has to learn how to do with various things. For example, I cannot watch television and talk on the phone at the same time. I cannot concentrate on the two things. I can either concentrate on the television or I can concentrate on the conversation I'm having, but I can't do both. My daughter, my youngest daughter, used to sit with her iPhone, her iPad, with her laptop in front of her and the television on, and she'd say, don't turn that off, I'm watching that. And I'd think, how are you doing that and doing your homework? She was able to pay attention to a lot of things. I cannot sit and read with my eyes and listen to music, but a lot of people can. So it's all about the ways that you train your brain to pay attention to something. I got into audiobooks because I used to sew and make all my daughter's clothing when they were little. So I'd be in my sewing room and I'd be doing these mindless things, you know, like, I don't know, 10 shoulder seams in a row that I would just be going sewing. And it was mindless. I just knew I had to do that. So I would get books on tape at the time was what they were, and I would listen to all kinds of things. I listened to Diana Gabaldon's Outlander series that way. I listened to autobiographies of people that way. Anything I could get my hands on, I would always have that going in the sewing room when I was working. Now, I will also say this, when I come to a part in what I'm doing, driving and DIY are the primary examples for me. If I'm, for example, driving and I'm listening, but I get to a place where I have to pay attention where I'm going because it's unfamiliar and I have to follow directions, then I will turn off the book because I cannot pay attention to what I'm doing and listen to what's being said at the same time. I can't immerse myself in a story and turn right at the next light. You know what I mean? I also cannot concentrate on numerical measurements when I'm listening because I'm invested in a story and I can't pull my brain away to make myself do math. It's that kind of thing. So, you know, there are times when I can't listen either because I can't pay attention. Generally speaking, I can pay attention. And I like to have something that I'm doing when I'm listening, even if it's just sitting at my laptop and playing solitaire or sitting with my iPad and playing solitaire. Lately, I've been doing crossword puzzles, and it's hard for me to listen and do that at the same time because I'm trying to come up with a word, this 6-letter word that means this or that or the other thing. Sometimes I can do it, sometimes not. It just depends. But I get it. When people say, I can't concentrate, I get it. Your brain has to learn how to do it. I listen at a faster speed now when I listen to books. When I listen at just a normal speed, it sounds really slow to me. But if I were listening to say a classic, say a Jane Austen book, then I would want to listen at a slower speed because the language is not what I speak every day. It's not what I listen to every day. So I would want to listen to it at a slower speed so that I could kind of process and think about what I'm listening to at the same time that I'm listening to it. With regard to that, there is a quote that I found by Cindy Bates at academia.com. I'll go ahead and link this article below, but in it she says, if you are focusing on concentrating, then you may be putting more work into listening to audiobooks than you should. I agree with this because I listen for enjoyment. If I were listening for DIY or self-improvement or, like I say, a classic, I would want to pay a lot more attention to what was happening. With a fictional novel that's relatively fast-paced and written in today's language, then I don't have to pay that much attention because I'm subconsciously processing a lot of what I'm hearing. So something that happened, another thing that happens along with this is that whenever we're reading with our eyes, and I think listening also, you tend to zone out a little bit with some parts. parts that don't make any difference. It's like that last couple of sentences in a paragraph that are just extraneous. It's like they don't really add anything to the story or take away anything. It's just, you just skim over them and you move to the next part. Now, I don't zone out for more than maybe 15 seconds at a time. And that's probably that's probably a long time to say that I've not been paying attention. Usually it's more like 5 seconds at a time. And the same thing when I'm reading with my eyes. And I think this is true for most people. There's just times that you want to move on. Your brain wants to move on to the next thing, the next bit of action, the next bit of dialogue. So we do. We just move right on. So our brain learns to get the gist of the thing without having to do the work. So if you are doing the work, then I think you really need to look at what you're listening to and whether or not that's an appropriate book to listen to rather than read with your eyes, and not make the assumption that all audiobooks are too hard for you to listen to and you can't pay attention, so that's not for you. That may be the case, but it's probably not. Another thing that goes along with that are narrators. Narrators are absolutely key to the enjoyment of an audiobook. And so if you have someone that's just droning on and just talking to you like this, of course, I'm going to go to sleep, or I'm going to give up entirely because I don't want to hear someone drone on. I'm not going to enjoy even the most riveting book if someone is just droning on and talking. Really? Those are the times that you will hear me say, I put that book aside because the narrator is inexperienced, the narrator is reading, the narrator is not voice acting, the narrator is dull. For any reason, I will put that audiobook aside and I will pick up the book either in print or on my iPad. That's a lot of the reason that I say if you don't like audiobooks, then you just haven't found the right one. Because if you are listening to a book and you hear a voice actor really bringing the book to life, then it makes all the difference in the world. Now, with regard to your brain learning how to listen, it's like anything. You have to learn to concentrate on what's happening in the book the same way you do anything else. I listen to books now at a faster speed than I used to. And when I first started doing that, it took me a little while to kind of start to hear it. I had to let my brain get used to doing it faster. And it didn't take very long. I have to say that at first I thought, wait, I can't do this. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. And I just kept listening. And it didn't take very long, probably 10 minutes, before I was able to appreciate the fact that this was moving at a much faster pace. And I like this a lot better. There are times when I will slow a book down to like 1.25 the speed, or I will just keep going at 1.5. It just depends. It depends on how much I'm enjoying the book, how fast I want to get through it, or how slow I want it to go. It just depends. When I listen to narrators at normal speed now, though, they sound really slow, and I don't have much patience for that. If I were listening to a classic, I'd be listening to it much more slowly because I would want to be able to think about what I was listening to at the same time as I was listening to it. When you're listening, you can't stop. Well, I mean, you can, but if you want to maintain the flow of the story, you can't really slow down like you can with your eyes. So if that's what you want to do, and that's the kind of book that you're reading, you probably want to read it with your eyes rather than with your ears. One thing that will help with listening is listening with earbuds or earphones, because that's going to put that sound directly into your ears rather than you having to decipher it, having your brain decipher it from the ambient noise around you. It's not always possible for me to do that, but I find that even in the car, I like to listen through the speakers in my car, but I can't always do that because of road noise. It's too distracting. So, I find that I'll put one earbud in. So it just makes a big difference when that's coming in, because earbuds don't cut off noise, they just deaden noise. And because of that, they deaden all that ambient noise around you, and your brain isn't having to process that as well as what's going on in your ears directly. The other thing about that is that it's really irritating when people walk in and want to talk to you. My husband is constantly walking in the door and going, hey, did you know that, da, 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 da? And I'm like pulling an earbud out and going, what? And he'll go, never mind. Well, by then I've already pulled the earbud out. I'm like, well, finish saying what you were saying. Now I'm paying attention to you and not my book. I do listen at night it helps me to go to sleep, and I like that. Again, the earbuds deadening the noise around me, any ambient noise that I have, it helps me go to sleep. But I can't listen on a plane because I get sleepy and I want to go to sleep, when in actuality what I'm doing is listening because I want to hear the book. There are times that I can't listen. If I have to pay attention to something, I can't really pay attention to the book. But if I'm doing something relatively mindless, then I can. Something that I don't have to concentrate on the way I'm doing it, or little details about what I'm doing. So those are a few of the ways that I am able to listen, and the reasons that I enjoy listening so much, and also the times when I can't pay attention and I don't try and listen. Instead, I pick up the print book or the ebook. If you are not an audiobook listener, I hope this gives you some tips on ways to give it a try and see maybe if you do this thing or that thing, maybe it'll make all the difference. I love audiobooks. I want everybody to listen to them. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And that is it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.